Apparently Lee Jenkins is LeBron James' best buddy. He writes for Sports Illustrated. He's the guy that wrote the big essay when LeBron decided he was going to come back from Miami to Cleveland. And he's got another expose out, Golic, and it's making news because of some of the quotes from LeBron James about his pursuit of Michael Jordan. There's always been the comparisons, but they have two different games, and it is what it is. But among other things, he says this: my motivation is this ghost I'm chasing. The ghost played in Chicago. That's only one small quote, but yet it jumps.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Off the page.
Absolutely.
What were your thoughts when you read it?
Well, I mean, listen, as I think, for him, it's something that's motivational. He went on to say, my career is totally different than Jordan's. What I've gone through is totally different than what he went through. What he did was unbelievable, and I watched it unfold. I looked up to him so much. I think it's cool to put myself in position to be one of the greatest players. But if I can ever put myself in position to be the greatest player, that would be something extraordinary. I think I think he could be the best athlete to have ever played the game, given his size, by numbers, being 6'8", 260, 270, and his ability to do things. Jordan obviously was a great athlete as well. You look at it from the athletic standpoint. As far as considered the greatest of all time, I don't know if LeBron will get there. Listen, I have no problem with him saying it because he's a guy that, if nothing else, is in the discussion. It would be different if it's a guy saying that, who, is just coming up and putting himself up there saying that's what I want to be. And that's a goal. I get it. But you're just like, yeah, or whatever. Let's see what you do. Well, we've seen what LeBron has done. We've seen some great. We've seen some We've seen some movement, something that a lot of people say is the biggest difference of him and Jordan. Jordan stayed in one spot and drove the bus, while LeBron, while driving the bus, jumped from a couple of different buses. So I don't know if LeBron will ever reach that stature, but at least he's going to be in the conversation. And what he did last year, really what he did 2 years ago, but you lost the finals, but the way he played in losing in 6 games with, the Matthew Dellavedovas of the world as your next best player, or Timothy Mozgov as your next best player, was incredible. And then to come out of the 3-1 hole this year and get the win, I think is a huge feather in his cap. I don't think he'll ever get there, but he certainly is going to be in the conversation, because the expectation is still in the West, what team comes out of the West, and in the East, what team is LeBron on? Those two teams are meeting in the finals.
We love to dissect, right?
Yes, we do.
We love to dissect these type of things. I've been very vocal and consistent that my 3 favorite athletes of all time are MJ, Tiger, and LeBron. And the reason they're my 3 favorite athletes of all time is because they have given me the most joy as a fan, as a viewer of any athletes I've ever watched. Jordan gave us those great moments in the 90s. Tiger gave us all those great Sundays and those magical shots. And LeBron has done what LeBron has done. The reason that I say that MJ is better is, and this has been the slight on LeBron forever, when you think of a last-second shot that you want a guy to take, that in our minds never missed, even though he did.
Oh, yeah.
But in our minds, Michael never missed that game winner.
The perception has he doesn't miss, the reality is he did.
Yes, a lot.
Yeah.
But he was always willing to take it.
Right.
And I think that's always going to follow LeBron around the finals against Dallas, where I equated the basketball to a hot potato because he couldn't wait to get rid of it. Jordan never had that instinct. His instinct was always shoot, 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 and I'm going to carry this team. I think LeBron now has gotten there.
Yeah.
I think he's gotten to the point where he says, I'm the guy, and the confidence is at a supreme level. I don't think it was always there for him. And I think that's the difference that will always be there.
I think also a difference is the type of player. We keep comparing LeBron to Jordan when they're games. It's probably LeBron to Magic. LeBron is
I think that's
much
accurate.
more of a disher of the basketball than Michael Jordan, right? I mean, he has the ball looking to get other people involved. I mean, that's one of the things LeBron likes to do. Now, we know he can score. We know he can play defense, but he loves to dish the ball. So I think early on, that's what he was doing, trying to get his teammates involved. But I agree with you. As of late, I think he realizes, okay, in crunch time, got to be me. Whether it's a jump shot, which he got more confidence in later, as the playoffs progressed and he was hitting them, as opposed to driving the ball, going in the air, holding it like a football till he clears, and then, going for the layup and ended up on the line or on the ground or making the bucket. So I do think he's gotten there, but I just wonder if too much has already passed to where you have Jordan 6 for 6. Never going to that game 7, ending it to where LeBron is 3 and 4, is 7 finals. It's going to be in more. He still may get 4, 5, 6 titles, may equal Jordan's at the end of all of this, may or may not, but he's got the losses to go with it. So I actually think it's to be considered the greatest. It's probably out of reach because he's competing with the GOAT. He is. He's competing with a guy who's already done it, and the myth just keeps getting more. Now, the greatness is already there, but over time, it just elevates, doesn't it?
That's what I want to ask you.
Yeah.
Coach in for Greeny today, Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. I think that naturally the conversation goes to where we just took it when you read these quotes. The comparison. And his life is great. Maybe one of the greatest lives you could ever live. That's not the issue. When I read these, I thought to myself, what possessed him to do this interview and to say these things when he knew and he knows that he is going to be picked apart when this comes out? When this comes out in Sports Illustrated, LeBron is smart enough to realize that we're going to pick up on these quotes, we're going to read them, and we're going to say what is going on in his mind right now as the leader of the Cleveland Cavaliers, as the best player in basketball.
Right.
That's where my mind went all day yesterday thinking, why would he do this now?
Yeah, and quite honestly, right now is where he can rise more in the eyes of people now, I think, than ever, because he's starting to take over more, and now what is he going to be going against? This super team, right? Kevin Durant joins the Golden State Warriors. Let's go more to some of the piece of Lee Jenkins. How about this part of it, which Hembo's not going to like to hear, you the analysts and all that. This from Lee Jenkins' piece. On the morning of July 4th, while James hosted a small barbecue at his house in Brentwood, Durant joined the Warriors. The Cavaliers were overshadowed once again by the prospect of Golden State scoring, a ton of points. If they were weary of Warriors highlights before, just wait. One NBA front office ran simulations based on player values for the upcoming season. Cleveland came out with 64 wins, that's second best in the league.
Okay.
Golden State, they came out with 83 wins. Hembo, you're Mr. Stat. You give us all these BPIs and all this. In case anybody doesn't understand what I just said, Golden State came out with 83 wins. There's 82 games in the regular season. Explain for your nerdy number people how you can do this.
I can't defend my brethren on this.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for keeping it short and sweet.
Doesn't this play right in
Simulation,
to our argument?
83 wins.
Wow.
I mean, how much can LeBron jump up even more now? And because if he's in the finals against Golden State, which everybody expects to happen, at least, barring injury, that's where this could lead to, that if they're going to win, LeBron is going to be the MVP again, although he got great help last year from Kyrie, no doubt about that. To now beat this supposed super team would be
Okay, let me ask you that.
incredible.
Let me ask you that. Do you think that happens? Does LeBron's legacy go up even higher if next year he beats this version of the Golden State Warriors?
Yes, without question.
Big time.
Oh, yeah.
Big time or a little bit?
Oh, no, I think big. I think it went up. I think you start 2 years ago when they lost and everybody still said, man, okay, Golden State won. What a season. Look at what LeBron did. Mm-hmm. Look at who he had on that team. Yeah. And they won 6 games. And then next year, okay, they're healthy. They got to win. Now you're down 3-1. That was going to hurt LeBron's legacy, I thought. Okay, LeBron, your guys are healthy. Here you go. The year before you were great alone, taking them to 6. Now you're down 3-1 with your guys. Then they came back and won, so I think that was huge. Now, the super team, which, again, I don't have a problem with what Durant did. A lot of people do. I don't. So they've made this super team, to which we'll get into later, some of Klay Thompson's quotes about Durant being on the team. But, yes, I absolutely think it'll be multiple feathers in his cap if he's able to take this team down.
I agree with you. I think that, and I think he understands that. I also think part of the reason that he did this article in this interview is that he understands the villain that Kevin Durant has become.
Right.
And as a babyface, he is no longer going to be a heel. He's going to be a babyface because of the Golden State Warriors. So even when this article comes out, there's still not going to be the pushback that I think would have been before if Kevin Durant wouldn't have gone to Golden State. I truly believe that's part of the reason he decided to do this.
Yeah, and I also think that. Do you think everybody's going to want them to lose? You think they're going to be they're going to be that team? Now there are going to be some that want to see, wow, how far can this team go? But there are going to be others where they're going to want to see them get beat. You're going to see that they're the big boys on the block. I want to see them go down.
Association now, though, after making the All-NBA first team 2 seasons ago, James Harden failed to make an All-NBA team this season. Many have criticized Harden for his lack of defense and effort at times. Now, his former teammate, Kevin Durant, has come to his defense, telling the Houston Chronicle, quote, "Everybody on the outside doesn't really appreciate what he brings. Anybody that can put up 29 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, and not make the All-NBA team, that's like a sin to even think about not putting a guy like that on the All-NBA team." Stephen A., does Katie have a point about Harden?
No, he does not. Where are you going to put him? When you consider the year that the Golden State Warriors have had, when you consider LeBron, when you consider the greatness of Kevin Durant along with Russell Westbrook, and the down year that the Houston Rockets had, and the reason that James Harden was in the news, what do you expect? Let me be very, very clear about James Harden. James Harden is an absolute stud. He is a superstar offensive player. Defensively, sometimes he shows up, sometimes he doesn't. His greatest year as a defender was fresh off of playing with Coach K. In the, I think it was the pre-Olympics or whatever it was a couple of years back. And then he came on the basketball court and he showed more of a concerted effort on the defensive side of the ball. James Harden can do whatever's required. He's that elite of a talent. The problem is he doesn't always want to do it on the defensive end of the floor. Now, in his defense, that may have to do with the offensive responsibilities that he may have, carrying the load for the Houston Rockets. And because of that, sometimes you conserve your energy because everybody's not going to be Jordan or Kobe or LeBron where they never let up on the defensive end of the floor. But nevertheless, that's been the case with James Harden. So Kevin Durant is not wrong for coming to the defense of his former teammate who never should have left OKC. The Thunder should have come up with the extra $4 or $5 million to keep him on board, no doubt. They probably would have won a championship in OKC before Kevin Durant decided to leave had James Harden never left. But nevertheless, he did leave. And Kevin Durant's not wrong for highlighting his greatness because James Harden is great. But he is a bit disingenuous in ignoring why people are somewhat critical of James Harden. Another thing to bring in the point, it is widely believed that James Harden is the reason that Kevin McHale was fired after 11 games into the season. He had a meeting with management, and the next thing you know, Kevin McHale is gone. Now, that may not be fair to James Harden because clearly he's categorically denied such a thing. But nevertheless, there are people who have been saying that about him in NBA circles.
And how'd that work out without McHale?
And how did that work out? Not very, very well, even though I do believe Bickerstaff did a damn good job considering the turmoil that surrounded the team. You got a guy like Dwight Howard who's now in Orlando. Some people feel he's fell off and he's got a lot to prove. But Dwight Howard would make the case that, damn, I can't dribble the ball and pass it to myself. People should be setting things up for me and giving me the ball. And sometimes James Harden would look off. We could also look at James Harden and as electric and elite and sensational as he is as a basketball player. There's usually a lot of dribbling that takes place before he takes a shot. Well, how does that work when you got 4 teammates around you who aren't necessarily seeing the basketball that much? So again, Kevin Durant is not wrong when he talks about the greatness of James Harden, but considering the year that he had and what was the storylines that surrounded him and some of the cynicism that comes attached to him, you're not telling the whole story when you tell why he wasn't picked first team, because clearly people are saying it ain't all about the numbers. Sometimes numbers do lie just a touch.
Kevin Durant is wrong when he calls James Harden a great player. Now, I want to be very clear about this. Yep, I want to be very clear about this.
I'm sorry.
He's not a great player.
You're saying James Harden's not a great player?
He's a very good player. He's not a great one.
Go ahead.
Now, and by the way, Carmelo Anthony, same thing right now.
Well, right now, yeah.
Yep.
Well, go ahead. I'll get back to that James Harden thing.
I'll get to the difference between good and great in a second, but
yes.
This is what, first of all, the league is changing under these players' feet. So some of the stuff they could do really well, for example, in the previous era, score in isolation, is much less valued now. And fans are getting more sophisticated. If you don't play defense, they recognize, see that other guy, maybe you're a little better in terms of, not even offensively, in terms of scoring the ball, but he actually plays defense. Here's the thing about Harden, and I want to make it very clear. There's a difference between a good player, a very good player, who really doesn't have the potential to be great. We've seen enough. We know it's not in there anywhere. And a guy like Harden. When I watch Harden play, I go, the question I always ask myself if you're supposedly elite in the NBA is, can you be the best player on a championship team? The answer for Harden is yes, it's possible. It's in there somewhere because we've seen him play defense at times. We see what he can do when he's playing the right way. He's capable of it. It's in there, but it hasn't come out of him yet. He was very bad in the finals when he was on OKC. Fine, he was coming off the bench. He and Westbrook and Durant somehow were a little inefficient, the three of them together. They were kind of less than the sum of their parts. The whole was less than the sum of its parts. I get all that. But if you really watch Harden throughout most of his career, does he rack up a lot of assists? Yeah. When do those assists come? Dribble, dribble, dribble. He's very good at getting to the line, but if he can't get his own shot...
Nobody's better at getting to the line.
He's amazing. And that's a high percentage thing to do, and so is shooting threes the way he does. But if he can't do that, he waits till the shot clock's almost up. Then he passes the ball to someone. They're like, we've been standing around getting cold. Now I don't really have an open look. And like, he gets his assists that way at times. I don't see him get the hockey assist too often, even though he's capable of doing it. What Durant is reacting to with Harden is what players frequently react to with guys like Harden and guys like Carmelo. A player knows better than anyone how hard it is to do what Harden does so well at the highest level. They know how much work goes into it. And the fact that Harden can do so many things so well, his peers recognize that's so hard to do. He's great. But it's not just that you have the tools, it's how you apply them. And James Harden has all the tools, does not apply them in a way where you can say that guy is a great NBA player.
Couple of things. Number one, he's a career 85% shooter from the free throw line. He shot 86% from the free throw line the last 3 years, so we know that.
High percentage player.
Secondly, Kevin Durant wasn't just reacting to what you just articulated. Primarily, he was reacting to the cynicism aimed in the direction of a friend of his and a former teammate, because that's what Kevin Durant tends to do these days. Thirdly, and more importantly, when you talk about what James Harden doesn't do on occasion, that's the difference between you and I in terms of our definition of greatness. My definition of greatness is a couple of things. There are times when James Harden didn't show up in big moments. Like, he was mad at me for years or whatever. I mean, we say hi and bye, but I mean, because he has damn right, and they better get over it, because I'm gonna keep telling the truth. The fact of the matter is that in that finals against Miami, there was an APB out on him. We couldn't find him. There were times when he was wide open at the free throw line, wide open at foul line extended, etc., elbow, and literally would not take shots, which is something we're not accustomed to seeing James Harden do. His talent is unquestionable, but he didn't show up in big moments. Last year, he didn't show up in big moments at the time. In the playoffs a couple of years back, even when they came back from that deficit against the Clippers and went on that like 49-9 run in that Game 6, James Harden was on the bench. They were doing that without him on the floor.
He's a one-way player, which you brought up. He's a one-way player.
But here's the thing. This is why I say you still can't deny his greatness. Despite all of those things you mentioned, and they're not wrong, you said the most important thing. What guys work diligently to pray and hope they can acquire, this guy does in his sleep. This guy averaged 29, he averaged 25, he averaged 26 a game, shoots better than 44, 45% from the field, gets to the free throw line at will, got a nasty handle, can play the point, can do so many different things. His greatness that I'm speaking about is what he possesses, his skill set. I'm not always saying results.
His skill set is the toolbox. He's got all the tools.
Well, that means you can be greater.
But how do you apply them? But the ball sticks with him. His teammates don't like it.
And I'm saying to you that there's a difference. Just because you're great doesn't mean someone isn't great to her. But it doesn't take away from the fact that you're great. It's just an elevated level. We got a whole bunch of Hall of Famers. Does everybody deserve to be in the same room as Michael?
Is James Harden an MVP caliber player for real? Is he an MVP?
I thought he was, not this past season, but the season before.
I disagree. I don't think
the season before. I think
he should be.
The season before, I thought
he can be, but I don't think he is right now.
Not right now, based on last season. Based on last
season. You're doing very good. Right. You're sticking with different definitions, though. D. Wade spoke with Kerry Champion at SportsCenter Sunday's Conversation. What did we learn about Wade going to Chicago, the newest Bull? We'll react. Tim returning to his hometown when we come next.
I don't know this Max Kellerman. I don't know you right now.
I get it. He's famous. What have you done with Stephen A. Smith?
Your boys can't come over your house.
I'd like to lick the tears off their faces like
God.
Scott Hennerman.
Damn.
People blowing me up on Twitter.
It's the truth. Period.
Me.
And last point is this.
That's a blunt.
Stay off the weed.